Well, it's a new day out in the shop, and it's been about, 6 months since we've worked on this thing. Unfortunately, had a bit of an autistic meltdown about the fact that ultimately the right thing to do is to take this transmission back out and back apart and try to repair that crack. And that just really sucks. Nobody likes going backwards. I especially don't like going backwards, but it's the right thing to do. It is what it is. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing ripped back out in a hurry and then dive back into how we're going to try to repair this thing and see if it works. I already know that there's going to be comments in the comments section about, bruh, why don't you scrap that junk transmission and just get a different one? This day and age, that would probably be the easy and, of course, preferred and common thing to do, but it kind of goes against the essence of what this channel is. You know, a lot of what we're doing here is bringing machines back that are on the brink of death, and more so, doing so on a shoestring budget like they did during the Depression. And you know, part of the greatest generation in that Depression mentality is their ability to save things, their ability to improvise, make do with what they had, repair things, survive. And that's kind of the point here, is that, you know, you can save a lot of these pieces of equipment, like I always say, if you've got some patience and some passion. So we're going to try, you know, what if spending $100 or $200 or whatever it costs dollars for a new transmission isn't an option? You know, what if this is the only one you got and you got to work with it? You have no choice. This is what you got to do to survive. So we're going to give it a whirl. So we're going to pull this thing out and see if we can't braze this thing back together again. Never brazed cast iron before, but we're going to learn. Well, the GoPro died, but you guys should be used to that by now. With a little help of the lift table, we got the transmission up on the engine stand, and that will enable us to, we'll just pop that pin out of there, and then we can flip this thing right upside down, have nice access to where we need to be. There's our crack, and get going on it. So let's get this thing closer to the door and start cleaning it up. We're going to take a wire wheel on a right angle grinder. We're going to come in and get all the grunge off of here, get it cleaned up. Then we're going to come in with a grinding wheel, and we're going to start to notch this out a bit and give us a place for our filler material to go. All right, so we got this out by the door and scraped off the, you know, basically the profile of the trans case with a screwdriver that is now my scraper, and went over it with a wire brush just by hand, try to get the loose stuff off, really trying to minimize the smoke. And then went through with a right angle grinder and a rope wheel and cleaned up the crack all the way around with a little buffer, you know, just like making any weld, just to make sure that we're not going to pull anything into the crack. So now that we've got that all cleaned up, we're going to grab another grinder and we'll start notching this crack out in a 45-degree V to give our filler material somewhere to go. All right, now we've got our crack gouged out, probably about, I don't know, 1/4 to 5/16 maybe. Then we got a nice little groove for our filler material to go. Now we got to warm this thing up. So the big thing, cast iron, is high carbon content. So when you focus heat on one area, it'll expand and it won't expand elsewhere. It has low elasticity, so it'll crack. So what we want to do is try to heat this thing up as much as we can and try to reduce the amount of thermal expansion differential between where we're going to be concentrating our heat and the rest of the transmission casing. So got a couple ideas how I want to do this. Got a weed burner. May start dousing it with the weed burner just to do a preheat.
Now there's a number of ways that you can do this, but I'm not an experienced enough professional to be telling you how. I'm just here to show you that with some willpower and some determination, you can. Some people like to use temperature paint pens, and as you're heating it up, the paint will change and give you an indication of when you're within the range of the paint that you put on there. For me, I don't have any of that stuff, so I basically just got it as hot as I could possibly get it. I heated it until it felt like every time I moved away, the point that I moved away from was cooling faster than the point that I was heating. Now, is this the right way? Well, in the eyes of a professional, probably not. But you know, this is backyard repairs, and the folks in the Depression, they didn't have all that fancy stuff. They made do. And that's exactly what we're doing. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. This is basically a two-step heating process. Once I've got the transmission case all preheated, now I'm going to take my oxyacetylene torch and go along and heat the crack itself up to close to brazing temperature. Then I will focus the torch in an area that I want to braze and bring it up to about a cherry color and start bringing in my brazed material. For this repair, I'm using a 3/32 inch flux-coated bronze brazing rod. I felt that this diameter brazing rod would give me a little bit better heat control and be a little bit more appropriate for the size of the gouge that I was trying to fill. Once you get the hang of this, it kind of feels like soldering and isn't so bad. Just working the puddle with the torch tip and remembering that sometimes gravity can work for you and against you.
All right, guys, well, there it is. I guess not terrible for a noob. I don't really have a good way to slow cool it, which is another thing that you really want to do when you're welding or brazing cast iron, is to let it cool down really slow. So I figured the next best thing was to get a ripping fire going on the wood stove, and as soon as I was done, I immediately wheeled this thing in and butted it right up to the stove. I wish it was a little higher so we could get up over it, but there's a lot of heat coming off this thing, so I figure I'll just let the wood stove go out, and that should slow it down more than it would if it was just sitting outside, I suppose. You know, sometimes you just got to work with what you got and hope for the best. So we're going to see what happens here. I'm going to let this cool down overnight, and we'll come back tomorrow and see what we got.
The next day.
Well, guys, it's a new day. We're going to see how we did. Wood stove's cooled off. Trans is cooled off. I am not seeing anything super concerning right off the bat. So let's wheel this thing away, and we'll get the rope wheel out, clean this up a bit, and make sure before we pass judgment, but looks like we might be in business. All right, we got it all cleaned up, and got all the flux ground off. That stuff comes off pretty hard, but not seeing any indications of any problems. I don't see any cracks. Everything's filled, so I suppose we'll hope for the best here. I'm gonna get the housing cleaned back out again and get that all flushed out, make sure everything's spotless, and then we'll wheel this back over and start putting it back together again, hopefully for the last time this time. I figured, well, this thing's up in my teeth, and out of the car, well, there's room to work. I'd get this clutch adjustment freed up. That way I can back it way off, and when we get this installed, we'll adjust this to the right length for the free play in the throw-out bearing, and then that'll be set. It's going to be a lot easier to do that when it's right out here than it is trying to cram myself between the frame rail to get this freed up. So now that we got that done, we'll get this up on the lift table and get it off the engine stand and get it back in the car. All right, so now that we've gotten over the transmission hurdle, the final transmission hurdle, there was a lot of transmission hurdles. What the heck? Shifts, so we're good to go there. Now we got to figure out the rear end. But getting that rear end set up is not going to be a quick job, so that's going to be a problem for another day. I do want to give a shout out to Keith Rucker from the vintagemachinery.org channel. He was a fantastic resource to teach myself how to torch braze cast iron, because I've never done it before. And so if you guys want to try to figure it out on your own for some of your projects, I strongly suggest you go check out his content. He does some really cool stuff and some really impressive repairs. As always, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoy this content, please make a point to smash the like button, share the videos. It all helps the metrics of the channel out a lot. Keep saving the old iron.